Hello to one and all. Yet again, every Monday we are here on cricket.com. My name is Avnish Hegde. I have Nikhil Popa with me and, of course, Akshay Kumaraswamy. We're going to be diving deep into some of the great things that we've seen in the game we love this week. I'm talking about India's win. I'm talking about Wian Mulder. I'm talking about Prithvi Shaw confirming his Ranji team. I'm talking about wishing MS Dhoni a birthday amidst all of it. We might chuck a little Wimbledon in there. We might chuck a little bit of F1 in there if you fancy that. But crack open the comments and of course tell us a hello, hi, because look, we all like to be nice and happy at the start of every week. Nikhil summed it up perfectly in terms of off camera: 2 Adidas, 1 cricket. So I'll start with the other Adidas. Nikhil Popat, how are you? Must be happy still 24 hours from that India win.
Crazy. I mean, there are lesser words to express, because sometimes you expect and it happens and you're like, fail. And just like that, I didn't expect Akshay to just disappear like that. But
likewise,
when you don't expect and something like that happens, absolutely chuffed to bits for Shubman Gill. I think we've spoken at length about him in the preview as well, in terms of how big this story is. And for him to do that was very special. And of course, this is what happens when you give new ball to a good new ball bowler. And of course, we'll get to the Siraj prediction later on in the show.
I'll get to it now because Akshay is figuring his stuff out. I'll tell you what, I normally don't call correctly. And I think even I got some stuff right because I said Shubman Gill's going to have a fantastic test. But next drops to you. You said Siraj 6 for when it really mattered. Let's just talk about that prediction before Akshay just comes back into full form instead of the glitchiness. How did you predict Siraj 6? I mean, tell me how you do these things because a lot of people who follow you know you really well in terms of being the Nostradamus.
Yeah, I mean, I just genuinely expected Siraj that he tends to get better the more he bowls. And historically also he's always done better in second game of a series. So some data led to that kind of thinking. And of course, we did not know that Bumrah was playing or not playing. But I just felt that there were too many false shots in the first test that did not go Siraj's way. So I felt it was always imminent. I felt it would have happened, if not in the second, in the third. And there is one more hopefully coming from him. But absolutely happy that it came out eventually and almost immediately in the first time that he bowled after the show. So you can't ask for more and make cricket keep blessing.
Yeah, law of average is definitely catching up in the right favor of Siraj. Akshay, how are you? UK week 2, I'm guessing, for you. So we'll start there. Give us a couple of insights of what's been another riveting week in terms of your vacation.
It's been fantastic. Firstly, I hope I'm audible. I don't know about the visibility side of it.
Excellent.
Okay, perfect. Good to hear that. Chalo. I've been roaming around a fair bit. Last week, I was in Bristol when I did the last episode. Wahan se, I made my way up to London. So I'm right now in London at my childhood friend's place. Bhai, London to ekdam lajawab hai. The weather's been mind-blowing. Best time of the year, like most Londoners themselves would say. I just did the Lord's store yesterday. So I was actually sipping a nice glass of cider from the Lord's Pavilion while watching India win the game in Birmingham. So technically, I've seen India win a test match at Lord's. I guess that's the closest I'll ever come to seeing something like that. So was happy about it. Bahut maza aaya wo dekhne mein bhi. Apart from that, been doing the usual shindigs, been visiting a bunch of museums. My friend owns a great place, so shout out to him as well. So काफी अच्छी जगह है, तो वहाँ पे chill कर सकते हैं. So been drinking a lot of beer and I really enjoy the cider over here. In case for those coming in over here, guys, the cider scene over here is banging and I've really taken to it. So maza aa raha hai. Been eating a lot, of course.
I think a couple of ciders have been introduced to India. I think Thatcher's is the famous one from the UK, but I don't know, you might be digging into a variety of ciders there. And I mean, honestly, envious of you, Akshay, because London, like you said, is right now in terms of world sport, the Wimbledon is happening. Are you going for the Wimbledon or probably go to Henley Hill, get a gig?
That's the plan, but Wimbledon match proper we can't because it's too expensive. We tried. In fact, yesterday for the F1 Grand Prix as well, my friend's a huge F1 buff. We were considering doing that. Unfortunately, we had other plans, so we couldn't do it. But yeah, like you said, it's right now the epicenter of world cricket. There's also the rugby. I don't know if it's the World Cup. There's some rugby event going on right now. So every pub is filled with South Africans, with Kiwis and whatnot. So बहुत मजा आता है भाई. And by the way, I went to this bar called the Sixes Social Bar. I don't know if you guys have heard of it. It's like Smash in India with alcohol. So me and my friend, we've just been drinking and smashing up to the best of our ability. So wo bhi bahut maza hai. A very fun concept for those who want to, those who like their alcohol and cricket, of course.
Yeah, it's a great concept. And I'll tell you what, all you guys who love sport, comment right now because we're watching all of it. Akshay was talking about the rugby tour to Australia. I don't watch rugby, but like because I watch Sky Sports, I know how much craziness is around that sport. And watching the Djokovic de Minaur game, I'm hoping Djokovic wins just box office from that. Right, enough of the tennis because like I said, this MNL 87 episode, we're going to give you everything that you like in terms of West Indies, Australia, Sri Lanka, Bangladesh, but also looking ahead to Lords more importantly, because that's a quick turnaround and it happens on the 10th of July. So 1-1, and as Ravi Shastri called it on comms, the Anderson Tendulkar Trophy is locked and alive and kicking. So next, let's of course reflect on Sunday, maybe the days before that as well. We were all sat here thinking to ourselves, how the hell are India going to level the series without Bumrah, no Kuldeep, taken Sai out, lots of chopping and changing, but they proved us wrong. So your first thoughts on what's been a bizarre test, but India's biggest win in away scenes?
No, absolutely. Another lesson from cricket that the more you see, the more you feel, oh, you don't know anything about it. And that's the beauty of it. I think many of us were surprised, but weren't shocked that Bumrah didn't play because you could understand. Okay, chalo. Okay. I think the only trigger or the only thing that was very scared of is, wow, no Kuldeep. And that was the only shock for me because I genuinely expected him to play all 4 games. And because there was no Bumrah, it felt that Kuldeep had to play because old ball rules. Now, how the game panned out, you had great time with the new ball in both innings. Old ball, you did miss him. But see, eventually, most of us take results over processes. I'm someone who likes to focus on process more than results. So, of course, very, very happy with the result. But if you ask me now, I would still say India could have still played Kuldeep. But again, it's not sticking to the thing that we wanted to know. I think Akash Deep bowled really, really well. And I mean, Siraj, so I was expecting him to do well. So I don't think you could have planned this test any better in terms of with the board and with the ball because the ideal scenario worked out for you with both bat and ball. You got big score in both innings. You got the new ball to do the most of the damage in both innings. Now that is ideal case scenario. Great that it has happened. Now on to it in the going forward in the upcoming times in the series.
Yeah, because like Akshay, I'll come to you on this because I think your theory of playing more all-rounders, we all kind of laughed and chuckled in terms of not specialists, but somehow they've eked over the line and not eked over the line, smashed England by 336 runs. So in reflection, do you think it was that partnership of Gill and say Jadeja at 211 for 5 in the first day where things could have been blown out of proportion? Or do you think there were other game-changing moments in the game? Was it Akash Deep with the new ball, for example, more than the guys with the bat in hand?
See, usually when we talk about Test cricket as a format, it's one of those formats just because of the length of each game. You can't have game-changing moments per se. There are extended periods of play that happen. It's very rare that you see one single performance or one single performer helping you win the game. And we've seen something like that happen in this test. And that's where this is an aberration. This is an outlier. I'm not trying to be very pessimistic. Shubman Gill, Akash Deep and Mohammad Siraj have really pulled their weight and beyond to be able to ensure that India won this game. So to say that India won this game because they outplayed England through and through would not be entirely wrong, but at the same time would not be entirely right. We need to understand that there's still a lot of issues plaguing the side. We need to understand. I hope that the think tank recognizes this, takes cognizance of this, and tries to correct it. Aisa now ki the wind papers over the cracks that is lying underneath, and they go ahead with the same 11 or a similar structure going forward. I am a fan of all-rounders, yes, but I myself did feel that this was an all-rounder too many. I really felt Sai Sudarshan had every reason to feel hard done by. So would Kuldeep Yadav, and I think those two calls would still, would still be considered questionable. I don't think their replacements per se did enough to say, you know what, we have vindicated the think tank's trust in us, or whatever you want to say that. So I still hope next match maybe see a few changes made. And yeah, a win like this, where a win like this helps is the fact that it motivates your side, especially a side that's so young, a side that's already been counted out, a side that's been ridiculed left, right, and center. When you see such a win where you've got someone like an Akash Deep who wasn't really expected to do such good things. You see someone like a Shubman who is supposed to be the leader of your side. For him to do well on his maiden sojourn as the Indian skipper, fantastic win. I just hope that the players are motivated and the think tank just get their act together in terms of the selections, and the pieces slowly fall into the jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah, well summed up. I generally want to add to that in terms of Shubman Gill and how he's probably had the best 5 days of his career, essentially. Forget Wiper cricket, forget the accolades that he's won there. All of that can go to the bin, because what he's done is absolutely put the English to shame. And I say that with no salt at all, because I'm tired of this Bazball thing going on. They should surely think about playing a draw. We'll expose Bazball in about 7 minutes' time. But just going back to the Gill Appreciation Club, to score that many runs in a test match is an absolute joke. And we've seen great batters go to England, but he's not, of course, done anything wrong. You think about control percentage, you think about flamboyance, flair, just the knack of stamping authority as a young generational batter. I was mind blown, but we'll come to Gill and his exploits. Meanwhile, before I come to Nix and Akshay, keep your comments coming through. Some great ones just flew in there and here. We will, of course, take the ones we missed out in terms of the MNL 12th man segment. But right here, right now, I talk about Shubman Gill, his boys and what they've done. And look at what he's done. Youngest captain to win away tests for India. And he's got his first, out of many, I'm guessing, in his long tenure as captain, I'm hoping, for India. But that will certainly be remembered. There's some cool stats, some great social media bites that we got out from this particular test. Because as you guys could predict, it was a stats fest, and my stats fan was literally shedding kgs during this particular test match. But look, as you can see, Siraj and Akash Deep, there's plenty of other tweets happening. Virat Kohli did tweet, of course, and it was good to see him even put an Insta story out for the Prince. If you guys know, you know. 1-1, it is locked in level, like I mentioned at the top of the show, and history created, because we've never won in Birmingham. In fact, the first Asian team to win a test in Birmingham. So what an accolade that is for Shubman Gill. Akash Deep, we'll talk about him then next, because how much has this waken up India and all the experts, including us, in terms of saying we need to build a pace battery, Siraj steps in, delivers, like you predicted, and then Akash Deep, so good that I even want to say that he's probably the best bowler of the series.
Well, best new ball bowler of this series for sure. I don't think there's a doubt there. And it's not something that you have not asked for. I think the people have always been there. It is something that I continue to be a ranting machine on, is the usage. You have Akash Deep. He's your new ball bowler. We kept asking for him in Australia at the right condition. What I at times see, the cricket is such a game that you cannot always predict that, okay, this guy will do well in this kind of situation. But what you're trying to do is put people in places where they are most likely to do well. Now, Bumrah did not play this game, which meant Akash Deep got the new ball, and he made the new ball talk. The one problem that India have had before Siraj stepped up was taking new ball wickets with Bumrah at the other end. You have Akash Deep, he's there, literally there in front of you. Pick him. The problem arises when you don't give people chances, and then when they get the chances and they do stuff like that. Now is something that I want to see. What do you do at Lords? Do you back Prasidh, or do you play Bumrah and give Akash Deep the new ball and give Siraj the semi-new ball, something that is done all his life, and he's better at that. So I think props and lots of props to Akash Deep for being clearly the standout bowler in this test, probably second to just Siraj for that matter, because only he was able to do anything in the air. I will still say the best wicket of the match probably was Sundar to Stokes, because I have not seen any ball drift that much in the air, because you saw it happening in front of you. Could feel, yeah, अभी out हो सकता है क्योंकि drift बहुत बढ़िया आ रहा है. So for Sundar to give that one breakthrough was great, but I think Akash Deep has really put his hand up and said that, dude, I am here. These are the kind of conditions, and Akash Deep is the perfect guy to play at Headingley. A kiss the surface guy who will hit the stumps more often, keep the stumps in play, bowl straight. So I just hope India is able to pick people and use them in the best possible way. And Akash Deep has done everything to say that I should be back.
Yeah, and he has some story. I mean, they keep bringing it up, obviously, when players do well, and every athlete has a tale to tell, Akshay, but it's quite remarkable what he's gone through in terms of his history, going through cancer. He lost his father, I think, 10 years ago. So it's not been a really easy ride to the top. And I think he's gone on to even credit Virat in an interview, I think, a year or two ago, in terms of how his red ball cricket was shaping up, in terms of the fitness he needed. That all came to the fore. I mean, yes, you're pleased as a fan, as a cricket person, but is there more to this? Is this not just a flash in the pan you're hoping? Because he was pretty good in terms of what we saw, a little bit of him in the BGT, but even that England series at home said, okay, fine, yeah, he's kind of got a waiver in terms of line and length, but this performance is one for the ages.
100% it's one for the ages, right? Because you've got to understand that, yeah, the on-field performance speaks for itself, but everything that's gone behind, and not just the recent 2 months, just Akash Deep, the story and the way he rose, the ranks of cricket, it's not something you hear often enough. So very happy for him as a person, as a human being, firstly, and then as a cricketer, you've got to admire the way he sort of, let that red ball do the talking. We've all spoken about how Akash Deep, the red ball bowler, is someone to watch out for. It was an interesting call. I'll be honest, I wasn't entirely sure of him playing the test at the start of it, because unfortunately hadn't had the greatest of IPLs. We did not know if he would be in the right mindset. Sure, different formats, and he is an out-and-out red ball bowler, no doubt, but mindset ka bhi fir sawal aata. On top of that, Akash Deep had to come in place of an Arshdeep Singh, who a lot of people, myself included, felt was tailor-made for the conditions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And for Akash Deep to prove us all wrong, and that's what we look for, right? Like, it's not us saying that a certain player is bad or isn't good enough. It's just us wanting to be proven wrong, and not just that, of course. It is also the beauty of sport. The fact that irrespective of conditions, at the end of the day, skills matter. At the end of the day, players do. They are also human. You don't know what will come out. And yeah, like Michael Bhai said, first of all, kudos to him to have that consistency. We've spoken about it. Like, all our bowlers, they lack that element. Barring Bumrah, in the first test, that need for consistency was lacking. You would see them bowl 1 or 2 good deliveries, and then once again short and wide or extremely full or something. And that's where Akash Deep in the first innings, the consistency that he showed while hitting those lengths, and then both the Brook dismissals. I agree. Washi's dismissal, maza aa gaya. Like Somesh had mentioned, I think it was in the group, वो एकदम plastic ball जैसे हिलता ना वैसा just kept moving into Stokes. But Akash Deep to Brook, both innings, yeah, वो bat नीचे ला नहीं पाया. It was an off spinner bowled at 135 clicks, and just very happy for him. And fingers crossed, this is the start of something really, really special, not just for him, for Team India too. But बहुत मजा आया उनको देख के.
Yeah, I mean, going to that Stokes dismissal, I mean, because Ashwin's had Stokes on toast in Test match cricket, I just feel like it gave me a glimpse of what Ash has done to Stokesy in the past. But yeah, Akash Deep, well done, and crucial wicket to even dislodge, who was it, to break that partnership of 303 between Harry Brook and Jamie Smith. Brook, which was absolutely brilliant. I know Brook got another snorter, Root got a snorter, but we can just keep sitting here and praising you and hope that carries on to Lords, because I want to see India actually win a series in England. It'll be absolutely fantastic. Plenty of comments coming through, which we'll take. Rayan Ahmed's been firing this one through, pretty much like Neil Wagner outside the leg stump, I feel. Should Siraj be rested for next game at Lords, considering very less break between the games? Was Edgbaston wicket similar to this tournament as Stokes mentioned? We'll talk about these things when we talk about the Lords preview in terms of the changes. But right now, I just want to finish up the Edgbaston win, guys, because winners and losers, one winner and one loser from all of us. Let's start with Nikhil. Who's your true winner? It could be anyone. For me, you'll be surprised who my winner is. It's not even a player.
Good that way. My two winners, we've spoken at length about the two bowlers. I think Jamie Smith was a clear winner. Plenty of talent to be seeing. And I will not be surprised if he plays as a batter going forward.
Imagine Ben Folks watching that game.
I can understand, but it's not Ben Folks' problem. Doing a different role in a different world, Ben Folks could possibly be playing for some other country if they, again, different people, different picking. So Jamie Smith, I think, is probably someone who benefited a lot from this game. Other winner for me has to be Shubman Gill. I don't think I have seen any batter bat with this control in my lifetime. Because you can say, it wasn't that hard, the ball did not do too much. But for that guy to be having a weakness, perceived, of course there is a weakness, we'll say, कि भाई ball अंदर आता है तो problem होती है. For him to be so tight, all of this test match and score 430 runs when all they were wanting to do is catch him, miss the clip, and he was absolutely bang on. I mean, 430 runs, dude, we don't even see this often. And I heard plenty of people saying, कि भाई road tha. So it was the road for everybody. Everybody should be able to score so many runs. So if it's that easy and the attack is a buffet, so then please everybody score hundreds. I want 700s in a test match, but it doesn't happen that way. So I think personally it was very satisfying to see Gill play the way he does, because he never, we spoke about Gill giving it up in the first test. He ensured he does not give up in this one. And he do that. To do that twice is just as good as you can get. I don't think Gill will ever have a better test match than this. In terms of
Syed Nizamuddin. Yeah, Syed Nizamuddin agreeing with you, and we all do kind of, because he goes on to say in the comments, Gill played really well. I think after getting captaincy, he's become more responsible. 430 runs in a match is amazing. Wow. And Akash Deep 10 for, and Mohammad Siraj 7 for the between. Right, and we'll come back to Nick's in terms of his loser, but who's your winner, Akshay? One winner.
Hard to look past Akash Deep. I'll stick to Akash Deep, and Jamie Smith was the name I had from the English side, but Akash Deep, I'll go ahead with him.
Okay, my winner was actually the umpire Saikat from Bangladesh. I generally feel that guy put himself in the limelight, and how it's good that Asian umpires kind of get these kind of high marquee games. And he was pretty much a not out umpire in the first innings. Chris Wokes was not going to go to invite him to this Christmas party for sure. And I generally feel even some of the decisions he got right was pretty good. Like the Stokes LBW, on first glance, you thought, okay, yeah, sure, could be bad bat. But again, he just absolutely called it right, I feel. And who knows how time will go with that. My loser, and I'll go to Nick's next. My loser is Zach Crawley. I generally thought the fashion that he got out, the times he got out, dropped the catch a punt where it probably could have been eked out, even though the game was probably gone by then. Zach Crawley, an absolute nightmare for test. And I think he'd have nightmares going into the Lord's test, because it's going to be slightly greener, that slope, Bumrah's back. So lots of work for Crawley to do. So my loser, Crawley, my winner, Saikat. Next, who's your loser?
Yeah, I don't think there are too many clear options. You would say Crawley, you would say maybe my vice captain from that second test, Nitish Kumar Reddy, scored 2 runs. And yeah, it is very hard to call a guy a loser, because he hardly got time in the middle to make an impact. But I think everybody else played a part. Jaiswal did, so did KL. Karun got a start at least. So, yeah, unfortunately, out of the 11 people, one did not do much. So, hopefully, next game, NKR can do the needful.
Sivaraman Pavan has one for you, saying Nick, Jaiswal, KL, Karun, Gill, Pant, Jaddu, NKR, Kuldeep, AD, Akash Deep, that is. Bumrah, Siraj, what do you think about this lineup?
So, there is no change, right? You are having that same top 6 actually. You are dropping Prasidh for Kuldeep. And you are dropping
for Bumrah and Washi for Kuldeep. Don't change.
2 changes.
Yeah, I think it is something that we've all wanted to see in terms of the kind of lineup. And again, we've been asking for Jadeja to bat at 6, because you sent him at 6 when you wanted quick. Of course, they did not want quick runs, which is why Jadeja came in there. But I think that is the kind of lineup that I don't mind seeing, because you have plenty of match winners. You have 3 people in form: Bumrah, Siraj, and Akash Deep. Give them the right type of ball, and then with the old ball, you have Kuldeep also, and there is Jadeja. And if you want a few overs, there is always NKR. So I think that would be the kind of lineup that I would want to see happening, but I don't see it happening. So that is also there.
Okay. Akshay, in many ways, I think Gautam Gambhir is also winner from this Edgbaston test because everyone on social media was saying, what is Gambhir doing? Ravi Shastri was vociferous before the ball was bowled in Birmingham, saying, he's really on thin ice, this man, because you can't do that and all of that stuff. And Gambhir is just there. And I think Vikas, the producer, put out a very apt particular picture of Gambhir post-match. It was like Raman Raghav and Nawaz from that particular clip. But it's almost in that phase where, all the daggers are out and now everyone's just like, fuck, we can't fuck with this guy.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I mean, this might be an unpopular opinion, but I still feel we shouldn't let the result hide the shenanigans that went behind the test. There was a reason why he was being criticized. Like the kind of 11 they had gone ahead with, it wasn't exactly an 11 that you would have thought of, when you think of Edgbaston, England, one up and all of it. So there's still reasons why people had criticized him then, and I don't think those reasons have become invalid just because Shubman Gill had a fantastic test and so did Akash Deep. So we need to understand that. So abhi bhi I'll still hold on to my thoughts on that. I wouldn't necessarily call him a winner because once again, this might then lead to complacency. Agar yahan pe usko winner bolke, like if they also feel that this seems to be a method that is effective and if they continue, I don't think this is sustainable enough across a month-long series jahan pe wo multiple tests jeet paye. Sure, you won the one test, but would you bet on the same 11 to win you another test and another and another? I don't think so. I personally wouldn't. So that's that for me. And when it comes to losers, for me, I agree with Sivi. My loser is Karun Nair. Start मिला but यार ये surface पे थोड़ा capitalize करने का बहुत उनको need था. Especially with someone like a Sai Sudarshan who was dropped almost unfairly, one might say. I think there is enough competition that's breathing down his neck. I'm not saying he'll be dropped ahead of the next test, but I'm pretty sure that the rope is only going to get shorter going forward. And this was as good an opportunity as any, because agle test mein there are reports of Archer potentially joining. Atkinson's also been deemed fit. So if you have to face a much better attack, it's only going to get more difficult from here. That's where a good knock from him over here would have kept him in good stead. So I would have him as my loser from this test.
Yeah, Sivi posed that same question to me saying, would you play him at Lords? 100% of play him at Lords. Again, not with a bias or anything like that, because I said prior to the series, you give him a long enough rope. My prediction with Karan is probably 2 more 50s and 100 this tour would just be like great, because what he's doing in the slip cordon as well can't be forgotten. Absolutely brilliant, safe as houses. We haven't seen that much in this series, but Karan's giving me very good conviction there. As a batter, I think he'll definitely come good. Sivi saying one report is that London extremely hot right now, so there'll be dry conditions. The other report is that England have asked for a pacing bouncy pitch. Tough call for Shubman Gill to make. Look, I mean, England will be really worried in terms of what they get in conditions, opposition, in terms of India making changes, because 100% you think India go into that game favourites, because India have dominated 9 out of 10 days of series. It's crazy how it's 1-1. And we'll talk about Bazball in just a bit, but I just want to get to the player ratings and just want to throw a little nugget there. Apparently, India, whenever they've not played Bumrah in the last 8 tests, they won all of them. So that's something to think about just going into it. Sivaravan Bhavan, you have some good questions. Chandan Ramya, welcome to the show. Shashank Takia, Greg K, all you guys smash a like. T-Rex Betak is coming tomorrow. It has Vikas, Nix, and Somesh. Akshay, I think, is anywhere on his UK travel, so we've let him be. And lots more comments, which I'll definitely take when we're previewing the Lords one. We will get to the player ratings, we'll do the Bazball exposure, and then we'll get to Lords preview. Right, so really quickly, fun and games, right? Any 10 and 10s. I think Akash Deep and Gill, we can probably give them a 10 and 10. But what I'm going to do right now, Nix and Akshay, I'm going to name players, and you just have to give me a rating on 10, okay? I'm not going to do all 22. I'm just doing the 11 Indian players. So let's start batting order-wise. First up, Jaiswal.
8.
9.
Akshay? I'll go 8.5. That 87.
I'm cutting one mark for not converting to 100. Sorry.
Okay. KL Rahul.
KL Rahul, probably 7. Yeah, go lower also. Fair. Got a 50, so I'm giving 5+.
I'll go 4.
I'll go 4 as well because I generally think he was a little dopey in the field. And I didn't like his dismissals. Especially the first innings one for sure.
First innings
for sure.
बहुत गुस्सा आया.
Yeah. Okay. Karan Nair on 10, I would give him 5 and 10 because he caught well, and that 31 gives me conviction. 2 good balls, but 5 and 10 Karan Nair. Next, do you agree? Higher, lower?
I'd go probably same with 5. I think he at least got starts, but I think I agree with Akshay that the competition is too much, and if he doesn't get a big one, then he cannot blame anybody else for not getting more chances.
Okay, Akshay, Karan is your loser, so 5?
Yeah, 5.
Okay, 5.
So he's given,
fair enough.
He's given KL 4, but Karan Nair 5. Wow.
Expectation because the expectation from Karun is to get a 10 on 10. Expectation वो नहीं है ना, तो loser का वो expectation to reality difference ज़्यादा. That is a loser. सबसे ज़्यादा फर्क वो है. KL क्या ठीक है, he can afford to fail. Simple.
Okay, what about El Capitano, Gill? I mean, obviously, I think he's an obvious 10 and 10, if not more.
I'm giving 9.5. Sorry, मैं 9.5 दे रहा है. 0.5 because you had 4,000 runs, but I could not see 500 fielders around the batter. ये declaration का मेरे को problem नहीं है. I think it was they wanted to bat England out, which is fair. But when you have 400 runs on the board, why are you not having a field that is putting too much pressure on people like Vokes and Jamie Smith both? Run गया तो जाएगा भाई, किधर लेके जाना है 400 run? My only worry there is with 400 on board, if you are going to have a field like that, dude, someday you'll have 200, someday you'll have less than that. How will you? So again, maybe as Akshay says, expectations there. So yeah, 9.5 for Gill, 0.5 for the field placements when you had 400 on board, and they were say 7 down.
Yeah, a little too timid for Nick's liking. Okay, let's move on quickly then. Pant, guys, 25 in the first innings, and I think he got about 65 in the second. So all in all, he caught well, decent. I'll give him a bang average 7 and 10.
Same 7 ही सोच के बैठा था.
Yeah, I'll give him 7.5 for the 2 bats thrown. मजा आ गया. Loved it. And never laughed like a mad child watching the bat go to longer than where the ball went at times. Yeah, fun.
It was absolute comedy there. NKR boys, I mean, absolutely a miserable test for him. I'd give him a 2 and 10. I don't hate him, but I mean, from a performance perspective, a 2 and 10.
He scored 2. Exactly. Jitne na har run ka 1 point.
Okay. Jadeja. I mean, honestly, he could have got his 100. It could have been another 100 in Edgbaston. I would give him an 8 on 10. I would probably give him 8.5, but then he was just playing tickle tummy with Chris Gaffney, which is unbelievable. So I'll give him an 8 and 10.
I'll 8 or 9. I don't mind giving him 9 too, primarily for that partnership with Gill. 210 for 5. It really seemed like यहाँ पे तो 250-260 में निपट जाएगा team. For him to show कि why we rate him so highly as a test batter and at such a crunch situation. Again, a very underrated role in that test match. So I will give him some points. So I will give him 9. I'll give him 9. बेचारे को इतना हम criticize भी करते हैं तो जब अच्छा किया तो बनता भी है उसका.
Okay. Washington Sundar. I think, yes, Stokes' wicket was crucial, but that catch also of Jamie Smith in the second innings was very crucial. So I'd give him a good 7 and 10, dude. Washi. 54 runs in the game. Can't complain. Next.
Yeah, fair. I think I don't have too much problem there. 7, 8, whichever you go. For Jadeja, I'll give him. I'll mention कि I wanted to give him 9, but I'll cut 0.5 क्योंकि भाई जॉस टन को तो over the wicket क्यों डाल रहा है? जॉस टन को तो round the wicket डाल के 400 लोग बाजू में लाके out करना भाई. That is something I will always have a pet peeve with. And with batting, I have no problem. I think I want to mention. I think it is incredibly frustratingly funny when you want Jadeja to play a big shot, and all he does is puts a front pad forward and just dabs it to point and just stands there. It is hilariously frustrating how amazingly everybody is blowing off on social media, and this guy is like, आगे जाके टक, अरे यार point के आसपास नहीं गया, no attempt at all, कोई वांदा नहीं.
Sibi saying Jadeja 8.5, extra half a point for finally bowling slower. And Nitin also chuckling away, saying we're not far away from seeing Gillen Pant protest against Jadeja to bowl slow. Greg giving Jadeja a big fat 8 on the looks of things. Okay, just to complete 9, 10, and 11 then, Akshay, I'll come to you first. How much do you give, I'm talking about Skiddy, your man, Prasidh?
My man कहाँ आपका man मेरा वो गया भाई मैं तो उसको already मेरे
I've never backed Prasidh, bro. I backed the other Karnataka cricketers, but not Prasidh.
मैं
To be
तो
fair.
सीधा one way ticket बैंगलोर का बुक करके भेजूंगा बहुत I'm sorry I know second innings में people might say 10 overs 25 runs ऐसा ये सब नहीं भाई I'm sorry मतलब 4 innings there's not been a single innings and now this is enough of a sample size for him to show his मतलब थोड़ा दिखाओ I'm not saying कि performance ही दे दो but at least show us glimpses of what you can do अब तक वो भी नहीं दिखा and that's what's upsetting so no I'll give him 2 only because I don't want to go lower. I'll give him 2.
I would give him maybe a 3.5, 4 because maybe just that second innings effort. I'd not really slander him, but I mean, so far what I've seen in this series is been either lucky or absolutely woeful. So, Nick's.
Yeah, I don't want to be too harsh, but maybe 2 to 3. That is also because he was able to bowl better in the second kick, but when he came on to bowl in the second kick, he came on to bowl the next day, and you had taken 3 already. But maybe we expect a lot more from Prasidh Krishna. That is the problem. So maybe we are also at fault because we expect too much from him. But yeah, plenty of things to work on economy-wise as well. He's gone for plenty already.
Okay, in the interest of time, Akash Deep, we're going to skip because we anyway lauded him. So we're all 10 and 10s for Akash Deep. So God bless him, and let's see if we can carry that momentum on. Finally, DSP Siraj, Mohammad Siraj, took a couple of blinders and dropped one howler as well. But all in all, Siraj for me, a flat 9 and 10. Without Bumrah there, I think he rose to the occasion. 670, you'll always remember that. So do you guys agree in 9 and 10? Next, and then Akshay?
No, I'm happy to give Siraj 10. He's our fortress breaker. Fortress todna hai to bhai Siraj bhai ko lao. So maybe next time we can start him from the second match only. Don't play him the first match and tell him ki ye second match and then you play like that. Very more. There is very more. I can't get the right word. I don't know how much more can you ask of Siraj in this test at least. He did the job with the ball. Both innings and kept the pressure on for the other bowlers as well. And he actually bowled the tougher job on the last day itself. When Prasidh and Akash Deep got the harder ball, Siraj was the one bowling with the older ball. So I'll give him enjoy it to 10 Siraj. Thank you for giving me my right prediction.
You agree, Akshay? I mean, the fact that he got stumped to Shoaib Bashir in his first carom ball wicket in his career, I think that probably...
पर अगर हम लोग मार्क कट करने लगे फिर तो मतलब then I don't know how will we ever go ahead in life. But with Siraj again, fantastic performance from him. Very happy for him because last week also I remember talking about how I personally did feel that people were being very harsh on him for that first test. Barring the new ball, he'd actually bowled well in each of the spells he delivered with the slightly older delivery. It was the new ball that he'd struggled with. And good to see him, do so well over here. The only reason I'll give him 9.5 is just Akash Deep ka wo performance. It's wo story, wo pura matlab yeah, exactly. Just for that. Nahi to pakka 10, deserving of a 10. Just so that Akash Deep ko I just want to keep him one grade above for a performance like this and hopefully, see him come up with such performances again.
Yeah, I mean, that's the one. And it's a perfect segue to actually talk about the next test, which starts very quickly on Thursday. So we'll talk about Lords right now on MNL, and smash a like and of course share this podcast. If you're listening later on Spotify, give us some love there as well. But what can we expect? Let's discuss that quickly with the boys before we of course talk about even the Bazball bit, which I really want to get into. Guys, where do we stand on Siraj being rested? Because we just kind of spoke about him. But is he going to be kind of looked at workload management-wise? Because there's Arshdeep waiting in the wings. Siraj is, of course, probably going to be the workhorse generally for India. So about his workload management and any other changes that we can expect at Lords. Nick, I'll start with you.
I would not risk Siraj, not now. Unless there is a clear, obvious problem, then yes, please go ahead and rest him. That would mean that Prasidh again gets the old ball and Akash Deep and Bumrah can bowl with the new one. So, unless there is any risk of any injury, I also felt Siraj was well rested because even in the first test, if you see at the back end, he did not bowl too much with Bumrah. He only bowled at the very back end with the new ball, and then and that's also one place where we have to credit England. Thank you for not batting too long because it means India is not bowling too much, which is also good for India's bowlers because they are well rested in that sense. So unless there's an injury, I would play Siraj. You want to win Lords. You win Lords, massive pressure on England then, and then you can see how you want to go with Manchester and Oval, which could be dry, could turn, who knows.
Yeah, who knows? Wrestle Singh, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Not many might think this way, but I guess Siraj needs to be rested for the third test. Arsh for him and Bumrah for PK. I mean, many would agree with you. I think many even would probably want to throw Kuldeep into the mix, knowing that NKR is not in the best of form. Kuldeep can give you good mystery spin. It's going to be probably dry at Lords with the summer baking down on that track. And Civi saying different things in terms of Adidas and Nike. We saw that controversy in Insta, didn't we? So keep your comments coming through. We'll, of course, carry on previewing the Lord's Test. Akshay, what's your gut feel? Because Bumrah, I think, will definitely come back in. So for Prasidh, let's just assume that. Do you think they'll tinker with the top 5, top 6, maybe bring out an NKR, look in another pacer?
I don't mind them now potentially looking at playing both Washi and Jadeja based on the surface, of course, assuming that the surface is similar to what we've seen in the WTC. Thoda purchase वगैरह अगर मिलता है, then I don't mind them sticking to both. Nitish के बदले they can actually go for a bowler. Abhi batting Washi bhi, he's shown that he can bat over here. So has Jadeja, of course. You can depend on them as your 7 batters to be a part of those 7 batters, and then go for 4 bowlers in the likes of whoever that you want to go for. Sorry, 3 bowlers. No, 4 ही होगा ना? Oh नहीं, 3 होगा. 3 होगा. Nitish was the 4th pacer, but you can go for whoever you want. I do not see a slightly left field call. I don't mind Team India resting Bumrah, assuming that the surface does not warrant his inclusion. Hear me out. I want to hear your thoughts on this. The reason I feel so is now England's already on the back foot. 4th and 5th test is where I think the pressure will truly be at its peak. Jahan pe matlab bhai jeetna, and there'll be a lot more crunch moments. And that's where Bumrah will be sort of your holy grail ki bhai har baar isko ball loge, to you will be expecting him to come good with the ball. That's where he can really, and such pressure situations is where Bumrah has also thrived in the recent past. So I wouldn't mind having him there. And again, all of this is surface dependent, contingent on the kind of surface we'll see. Assuming that it is a WTC kind of surface, यहाँ पे थोड़ा bowlers के लिए help है. Akash Deep, Arshdeep and Siraj, because 2 of them have already shown. Arshdeep is someone we've all been saying कि भाई खिला ही लो. So I don't mind seeing that Troika playing and 4th and 5th both being played by Bumrah. This is my opinion. People might argue 4th and 5th is also being played with a shortish break, but yeah.
No, I agree. I agree to that, but I agree to that in a half-hearted way because I feel I'd rather gamble with Bumrah at Lords than at the Oval. So I'd play him in the 3rd and the 4th, where Lords in Manchester historically has something in that track, rather than Oval where it just peters out, and you probably can even play Sundar and Kuldeep and Jadeja if you want to. It depends on how the series scoreline stands at that point in time. But the thing with going into this Lords test, right? India made 3 changes, Nicks, coming in Edgbaston. All 3 have worked well, apart from NKR. Many would probably say that Sundar didn't have so much of a big impact, but I think he also kind of had some say in the game by getting Stokes out, so on and so forth, and that little partnership that he got with Gill in the first innings. So all in all, if you actually want to take out the obvious 2, Prasidh goes out and NKR goes out, right? Let's imagine on form. Then your Bumrah comes in for Prasidh, and who comes in for NKR? Are you thinking a pace quartet? Are you thinking Kuldeep because England would probably struggle against him, has nightmares and all of that stuff? So what are your 2 obvious changes? Because surely it can't be 3 obvious changes or just the 1. It has to be 2, I feel.
I think it'll just be 1, and I will not be surprised if it's only 1. I think for the second, we've clearly seen that they want the batting depth, and see if the surface is like that, maybe NKR can bowl. And I was not disappointed by him from what I saw of NKR. And I think he's someone who we have to see him bowl. Only then we'll be able to groom him into somebody who can bat and bowl and do the job for you. So I foresee only one change. And again, ideally, if you ask me, it's a tricky call between NKR and Sundar to play Kuldeep. I would ideally just get back Bumrah for Prasidh and play Kuldeep for either of NKR and Sundar. It will mean that Jadeja bats at 6, one of NKR Sundar plays 7, and then we can figure out agar aapko waisa karna hai to. So the surface, and something that Gill said in the post-match presser, that they feel that finger spin will give them a lot more control. Again, we can debate that because I feel Kuldeep ने ऐसा कुछ नहीं किया है जो मेरे को ऐसा देख के लगे कि वो कंट्रोल नहीं देगा. But if they think that way, I think I'll just be a bit more pragmatic and say that maybe they'll not want to go to Kuldeep. They'll be happy with the batting there. They can get in Bumrah for Prasidh, which means Bumrah Akash with the new ball, Siraj with the old ball, and then you have NKR as your fourth seamer, and you still have Sundar and Jadeja. Two options that you can bowl because Lords is going to be hot. 30 degrees high temperature, consistent across the 5 days, and it is dry. So grass hoga bhi agar pitch pe, I think it will dry out and eventually become better to bat on. So I would play Kuldeep, but I can understand if they don't play him.
Okay, some good comments coming in from Abbas, Shivaram, Apex, Wrestle Singh. We'll take all of them in just a bit. Kuldeep will not be needed in the Lord's pitch, saying Greg. And I also feel Bumrah shouldn't play at Lord's, saying Sivaram. Sivi absolutely bashing Akshay, saying looks like Akshay consumed too much cider. But cut him some slack. I think that's his fair opinion. And look, Akshay, my simple question to you is, who do you think can go out? So I think there's 4 guys who can go out, and whoever comes in, comes in. The 4 people who can go out are Sundar, NKR, Prasidh, and Siraj, because he needs to be managed in terms of his workload. No one else can go out of that side. I mean, according to the outside and stuff like that. Where do you sit in this? Because what do you do with people like Sai, who you binned after first test? You bring him back in. Now NK has had a howler. You bring him out and then put someone in, because that's also not really good.
Yeah, NK second innings mein hardly bowled, right? First innings, I know he bowled what 8 overs and all of single digits mein tha. Second innings mein bhi itna nahi dala to sort of say.
Second innings he didn't bowl.
Wah, sahi hai. So if they are going to be looking at NKR primarily as a batter who can also offer a bowling option, to nahi chahiye bhai. Bring in a Sai. But I'm guessing the reason why they are slightly reluctant right now is Karun at 3 is what they're looking at. तो अगर साई आता है तो फिर साई को नीचे खिलाना पड़ेगा at number 6, which I don't think they want to. So I'm guessing it's more of a forced change that way, unless they decide to drop Karun Iyer, which I think would also be a bit harsh right now. मतलब एक और टेस्ट तो कम से कम दे ही दो.
Do you think Rahul Singh has a point here? He says now Gambhir will play 3 all-rounders for whole series, because this is something that he generally liked. BGT exposed him, and he's gotten away with it in how this time around. But maybe this is his thinking.
I hope not. But I mean, there's good reason to believe that Gambhir will now continue with this, right? Because he's got the result that we all wanted. So now he has that higher moral ground. अभी तो मतलब अगर हम उसको बोलेंगे कि नहीं भाई ये मत करो, he'll throw the Edgbaston, and again with reasonable confidence that too कि भाई Edgbaston में हमने जीता ना, we have done that, right? So considering that, I don't know. Like, I don't know what to make of it, because had I been a coach and had I made a few left field calls that would have worked for me, I would have definitely continued with it, because that was my gut feel. So it's going to be very tricky. And once again, as outsiders talking about what's happening inside, there's only so much that we'll be privy to once again. So which is why I don't know how much of it will actually come to fruition. But Prasidh going out has to be. It's a given, I feel, at this point in time. Ya to Bumrah ya fir even Arshdeep, based on what they feel. In all likelihood, it might be Bumrah. But NKR for Kuldeep, I don't think will happen, because we're clearly batting the chare. Like Nikhil bhai said, they are looking for it.
Yeah, I mean, sports fan cheekily is saying jeetne ke baad koi team change nahi hogi. I mean, that could be very well the case, but definitely India will have an eye on the 4th and 5th test, even though they want to put their best team out at Lords. And there'll be a lot of players who will go up to Gambhir and be like, Lords, it's Lords, I want to play. It's an iconic test. It's an iconic ground, so on and so forth. So there'll be a lot of that. But I think India will be unshuffled at the top of the order. There'll be 2 changes at best, I feel. Maybe just the one that Nix is suggesting as well, with Prasidh going out, Bumrah come back in, and everyone gets another bite of the cherry. Who knows what's going to happen? But we're going to talk about Lords even more, but with an England lens on right now, because I want to ask these boys if Bazball has truly been exposed in the last 2 test matches. Both tests, Akshay, going down to 5 days. Both tests India had in their grasp. The first one, if he had Kuldeep, we could have probably won that and been sitting right now being 2-0 up. Ben Stokes has been a shadow of himself as a batter. He's not scored 100 in Test cricket since 2023. His team and his bowling attack has definitely not been the bowling attack that he's had in the past. And they just don't like playing for a draw because they think it's not entertaining. What is entertaining? They get all out 150 before lunch on the final innings, chasing 400 odd. So my question to you is, have England been exposed a little bit with all of their radical thinking, all of their kamikaze cricket? Sometimes they're not doing the basics right.
Man, that's a pretty loaded question in all fairness. And Arhan also has a very valid point. Like, from the batting front, they've got the runs. Maybe, the second is, of course, we will talk about it. First is to runs banai. And they've always said that for them, it is about, sort of living by the squad and dying by. That's the philosophy that they have gone ahead with, irrespective of whether it gives them the kind of results game in, game out. But it is interesting. You see what Marcus Trescothick had to say ahead of day 5. It's like, we're not stupid enough to understand that draw is an option. This is Test cricket, so there are 3 results possible. We won't just go for the win for the sake of it. As he was trying to be a lot more rational. But then we've also heard what Stokes, Duckett, McCullum himself have had to say earlier in the past. And it's very tricky, man, because Ben Stokes hasn't been in the greatest of form. And if I'm not wrong, cricket.com themselves had put out a graphic, a stat that said that in the last 5 years, amongst batters who've scored 1,000 runs or more, Ben Stokes has the 3rd lowest average or something like that. So that just goes on to show कि भाई मतलब नहीं किया उन्होंने जितना अच्छा expected था. He's not come good. Maybe he's won them a few tests, and that's what colors our opinion about him. Understandably so. Brook is showing good signs. So has Jamie Smith. Ben Duckett has been in great form. Ollie Pope has already done well so far. So I think batting seems to be in good shape. The bowling with injuries and whatnot has sort of struggled, and they have to, this is going to be a tricky phase because Broad and Anderson aapko, phase out karna pada, and that's not easy. That's never going to be easy. Say what you want about them. In England, Broad and Anderson are absolute legends. So I would still say that I don't think Bazball is entirely outdated or it's been entirely found out over there. The second is, of course, the way they played can be questioned. And that's why sometimes I really feel they are sort of, playing their cricket in silo. The way Stokes spoke about the pitch, like someone over here mentioned to, subcontinental pitch bol diya bhai. Matlab, ye to mat karo yaar. Itna mat karo. Like,
see, the way I look at it is generally there are a lot of pitfalls with Bazball in terms of giving their bowlers less rest. You look at even situational cricket not being played right. And I say that with, 84 for 5, they had to counter attack and they've gone for it. And so much so that it was a 303 run partnership. You're not going to see that every day. So I'll give huge credit to Harry Brook and Jamie Smith for playing the way they did. The final day, it wasn't an absolute Bunsen on day 5. Yes, there were cracks. Yes, Akash Deep exploited that. And there was a little bit of nip. But they were just too wafty in terms of their drives outside off stump prior to the 5th day, where the 3 wickets that India claimed, they were absolutely cock-a-hoop. So I generally feel there were moments in this test where England could have definitely played a little bit of old school, not entirely old school, but just apply yourself there and you'll make the most of just the conditions, what they had to offer. I mean, my question to you, Nix, is generally when you look at it, right, from a England perspective, yes, they don't have the same pace battery that they once had, but this whole run rate and going ballistic with the bat is good. It makes for good viewing. It makes for bums on seats. But at times, in the critical parts of series, 2023 Ashes, even last time when they were 1-0 up against India, winning that Hyderabad test, they just folded. And I feel like a lot of people just think because it's school cricket, not much of slander has been given to them. And now the series is perfectly making that happen.
Yeah, I think the one thing that I will give a bit to Bazball is at least in that process, they've been able to pick the kind of players that they want to pick. And Jamie Smith is a prime example of it. That when it comes off, it is going to look absolutely marvelous. Wow, you are playing likes of Ben Foakes and whatnot, and this guy is there. Why not just play him? I think it is not as straightforward. I think there are plenty of layers to it. One is which you pointed out that when you bat for a limited amount of time, you're not giving your bowlers enough rest. India made them bowl for almost 150 overs in the first innings and 80 odd in the second, and you are batting for half of it. It is not how Test cricket has functioned for a long period of time, because people need time to recover. And sometimes when you can get away with, when you score runs and you don't have the right kind of bowling attack, it can look very weird. Now, you give the same total to an Anderson Broad, maybe they'll do something else. Maybe they'll have more potency with the new ball, which means that they don't miss those, they don't miss those runs that they did not score. But it is something that's very tricky to balance out, because if you see, when you're playing so much cricket in terms of aggressive manner, your batting transition is happening, but you're not getting the next line of pacers. Chris Woakes has had a forgetful time at home. When was the last time you saw Chris Woakes being such? I don't think he's ever bowled on such decks. Jahan pe there is absolutely nothing. The one time he bowled well, he had 2 umpires call that did not go his way. So I think that is also something that's very important to acknowledge, that their bowling resources are such where they are expecting their batters. See, they're expecting to do what India did. That we'll get 500, and then we'll use the scoreboard pressure, and then we'll have fields where we'll put doubts in your mind, where you'll create your chances. So I think exactly as Craig says, Bazball works when opposition is not batting long. When the opposition is always like what India did in the first innings. India gave them a glimmer of chance. They were decent and good enough to get to in the game, but they took quick wickets, and then they were back in the game. And then we also had to remember that India gave them 600 because they wanted them to not think about the win. If they were not capable, India would have given them 400 and said, "Oh, we'll have 2 new balls, proper 2 new balls, and then we'll bowl at you a lot more." So I think they're getting the batting right, but in the batting also, Zach Collins had a poor time. Pope had a century. So it is not something that is as straightforward where you say, okay, Pope has scored 170, then he's got a score, and now you can't drop him. So it's been a mixture of plenty of things that have not worked for them, and we have to remember they are still 1-1. We are not 2-0. It is still 1-1, and if they get conditions, and it is something that I want to add, that they like to chase. Now, I don't know what you feel. I don't think chasing was a problem on that day. Nobody can predict how the deck will behave on day 5. Chasing is something that Indians like to do because they feel that batting with conditions acha rahega on day 5. So some days you will get up and end up on the wrong side, like how Australia was in the WTC, where you will bat when it is tougher to bat, and you'll have to bowl when it is better to bat. So that is something, it's just the part of the game. So I'm very keen to see how they go about it, because previously we've seen England come back, we've seen India also lose after winning a test. So I think there is just plenty more to play. So I don't think they're exposed as such, but there are changes that now are more visible to people. Now up to India to see if they can just pick and stay on that problems.
See, the one big problem for England and their cricket, I think since I've been watching them since 25, 30 years, maybe even before that, Akshay, is that they always just keep looking at the Ashes, no matter if it's 6 months away, 1 year away, 18 months to go to the Ashes, we're building a pace batting. So they're not playing now cricket. They're always thinking in their head, who can we get? Who can we get? In fact, Bashir was pretty much brought in, yes, for the India series, but then they kept thinking, oh yeah, he can be a handful down under, all of that stuff. So I generally feel if you look at this pace battery, there's no chance they're starting that first test in Perth later this year. So they have to really rejig. Yes, there will be an entirely different makeup at Lords. Maybe if Sam Cook comes in, Gus Hatton comes in, Archer comes in, and for all good concern, I know there's not that much miles under their legs, so let's see how they play their cards. My final question on Bazball to you here is, many people are talking about the pitches and how Ben Stokes is just like win the toss and chase Merchant, right? My thinking is, even, okay, fine, they have to coax curators around Lords, Manchester and Oval right now. do they not have the balls to leave any little amount of grass because it's India, because it's Australia, and they know right now that batting might not be the best in the world to compete with India's attack, especially if their conditions and offer. So have they really shut the bed at home in terms of just playing in dry services, and we'll be like, you know what, we'll outbat you, and that's how we play Bazball?
I mean, I wouldn't say that that means they're being, sort of less timid or something. That's the approach they've gone for. So it's by design that they've gone for surfaces that have less grass in it. It's not that they're scared of other attacks. They just want surfaces that suit their batters. Simple. They know that they have the batters within their arsenal who can outbat oppositions come what may, given the correct conditions. So they're trying to stick by it. And I don't think anything's wrong with that. See, approaches, there's always multiple approaches to winning games. It's all about you identifying what works for your side, what your side's strengths are, accordingly tailoring an approach to it. And they've clearly done that. I think credit where it's due, like Nikhil Bhai said, on the batting front, I think they have done a more than decent job of coming up with a template, coming up with also an identity, the way they want to play. Something that we see multiple teams across competitions, across formats talking about. जब तक वो नहीं बनता, जब तक एक template nahi banta, template in the sense till there's no identity of how we want to play, it's always going to be hit and miss, because you've got multiple players of different calibers, of different styles trying to fit in their own ways, and that usually leads to more questions than answers. So I get that, and if they truly believe in winning this way, which I think they do, I don't see them going ahead with green tops or something like that, which is why I'll be very surprised if Lords is going to be an extremely bowler-friendly surface in any way. I don't think it'll be, I mean, the surface will have any, I mean, not any, I don't think the surface will have too much grass on it. I don't think the conditions themselves will be very, bowler-friendly in the sense, of course, slope hai, thoda hawa rahega, because there's been gentle breeze going around London all through the day, the last week. In fact, yesterday I was at the ground, so they spoke about which strip is being used. So it's going to be pitch number 12, which is one of the center strips. So dekhna padega wahan pe kya hota hai. Like, of course, we can't see the strip; they're all entirely covered. But I don't see a lot of grass being left out there on the field.
It's a hallowed turf, and I know it's summer, and many people are pointing out to me, like Mohammad saying, Avnish, pitches are not just a function of duration, the heat wave, and obviously I know that, mate, but you look at even Rob Key and his philosophy since he's got the top job in England is that, play on flatter surfaces in county cricket, play with a Kookaburra ball. So all in the build-up to, of course, topple the Aussies at home, which is something that they wanted to do for the last 14, 15 years. So it's clear a long-term strategy. Let's just speculate changes and finish off India-England before we talk about so many other things which has caught our eye this week, including South Africa-Zimbabwe, where we saw a man nearly break Brian Lara's record. More on that in a bit. But next, your England 11, and then we'll wrap up on that note. Who are the changes for you? Does Stung still play because he's done okay at Lords against Australia, and Cast because he had a shoe problem or his toes were bleeding? I don't know what it was. I think he sits out. Who comes in, and does Archer play? Because the thumbnail suggests that.
Yeah, I think he will most likely play. I think Archer and Atkinson are the two changes I think they'll make. They'll probably drop. I won't say drop. They'll probably rest Josh Tongue and Byron Cast. I think Chris Rose is someone that I like them to give one more go, because he's had a great record at Lords for a living. So they probably want to give him another test. It gives Cars and Tongue also enough time, and you cannot just go with 3 new people in a setup who haven't played cricket too long. I mean, Archer last played a Test cricket 4 years ago. He's bowled 18 overs in first-class cricket, and he's coming into Test cricket. May was the last time Atkinson played Test cricket. So it is not going to be easy to just have multiple people who have had very little bowling into a Test match, and God forbid if it's flat and they have to bowl 100 overs. It might need a lot of bowling from Bashir. So I see 2 changes, Archer and Atkinson in for Cars and Josh Tongue.
Okay. Akshay, are you agreeing with Nix? Are you going to be radical and bring in your boy Bethel for Pope, or just not yet?
Not yet. Bethel for Pope itni jaldi nahi.
Bethel for Bashir?
Sure, Bethel for Bashir. Why not? Spinner, matlab अच्छी spin कर लेता है, and I guess Bashir's 4 and 6 in the last innings has probably tilted the scales in his favor. But another name that I hope they consider, because Jeet, a friend of our channel, he's someone who's told me a lot about Sam Cook. He really believes that Sam Cook is a name that they should highly consider. I don't know how fit is Gus Atkinson. Sure, he might be linking up with the squad, but I'm guessing they would also want to give him some time with the squad to understand where he's at. If he's even marginally unfit or not fully fit, I really hope Sam Cook makes it so that we get to see a bit more of him, because Kafi Sunaki, he is someone to watch out for in these conditions. He's touted to be tailor-made for these conditions. So, maza aega. It'll be a tougher challenge. And what else we here for?
Most likely, Cast will not play because of sore feet, saying freaking awesome. Apex saying, bhai, agar Lords India jeeta hai, mark my words, we're winning the series. But agar haar gayi, so India will lose the series, okay? And Sivaram Pavan saying, Avinash, sir. First of all, it's Avinash. But then he goes on to say, they don't want spicy wickets, sir. But because they'll have to, if they play a Wood and Archer, they want a result-oriented wicket. I mean, it will be what it is. But right now, I think they'll go again the flat route in terms of batting India out in the ground dimensions and all of that stuff. And Sam Cook, Akshay brought him up. I think it's well documented what he's been doing around the county circuit. Hits the good lens, wicket sort of bowler. And I think he's more endurance from a larger perspective than anything else. So let's see if England makes some good changes. And if they do, who will they be? Finally, the Monday Night Live question this week doesn't seem to be there. But that's okay. We can move on. Meanwhile, there have been plenty of stats to go around this test. So just to conclude, lots of things that you can like on our website, on our Instagram, Reddit, Facebook, Twitter. Nearly said everything apart from some other websites that we all like. Not the ones at night. Be honest. Be nice. And let's move on to the best of the rest, because that's where we can talk about different things, including all of our MS Dhoni memories in terms of his birthday and all of that to follow. So let's move on to best of the Yeah, best of the rest. We just thought of starting on an MS Dhoni note because the man turns a year wiser. And I'm talking about him now being 44, which is incredible. So MSD, happy birthday from all of us at cricket.com. And we will start by asking the CSK in-house fan, Nix, your favorite MS Dhoni moment, memory, word, anything. It could be a press conference to a six he's hit. Talk to me.
Nice. It's a memory where he's not batting or he's not captaining, but I was there at the venue. So 2018, Faf, I think, yeah, Faf wins the qualifier for Chennai against SRH. I mean, with the partnership with the tail, wickets going out early, and CSK make it to the final. And then I'm there. I'm done with my report because itna to Bhavan ne diya hai ki thoda patapat likh lein. And then when Faf hits those winning runs, I see a dugout going crazy, proper crazy mad. Everybody's running on the field. And there is that one man just sitting there clapping. The guy's made it to a final in a comeback season. And that is how he wants to celebrate a crazy result that didn't look likely an hour before. So, and that I was there. I think it will stay with me. I even tweeted it out on my way home in terms of I will never forget that image. That is how I want myself to be in terms of irrespective of result. That is how I want to be here. Okay. Loss ho, ke win ho. I should not be losing my mind. I should be there in that moment. Of course, it doesn't mean that I don't celebrate. Of course, I should celebrate, but not let it get to my head or not beat myself too much if I lose something like that. So that is just one of those many things that I've seen with MS. But yeah, that is my favorite MS Dhoni memory. So happy birthday, Mike.
Him clapping, basically. Him clapping.
He was just clapping. Him clapping is the memory. It is him clapping when you've made it to a final of an IPL, and he celebrated that just by sitting there quietly clapping when everybody around him. Actually, it's an image, and if you see that image, is when it hits you even more that everybody around him has far more thousands of emotions as compared to that man who's captain. He's always been very passionate about playing for Chennai. Even after that, for him to just be like that, final एक और क्या है इसमें? Stays with me.
Okay, very interesting. Good nugget of information there. Akshay didn't expect that from Nix, but he's gone for a nice clap of MS Dhoni. What about you? How do you remember the man the most, and what's your favorite MSD thing ever?
Favorite to बहुत सारे. I'll just go for one that's probably everything's been spoken about. There are very few things about MS Dhoni that haven't been spoken about because of the kind of achievements the guy boasts of. Maybe one story that comes to mind for me is not exactly story, but one thing is 2007 T20 World Cup when we won against Australia. So that was my first proper viewing of a world event. The 2007 ODI World Cup also just India going out so early meant that the 10-year-old me was very disappointed. And yeah, come the T20 World Cup, that's when मतलब ऐसा मैं खुद coaching properly 2 साल से जा रहा था. Now in my head I was MS Dhoni, Yuvraj Singh, Irfan Pathan all in one. So I remember the post-match presser, not the presser, the post-match presentation at the end of the semi-final India-Australia. So Ravi Shastri had written a piece on cricket for ahead of the World Cup, if I'm not wrong, कि भाई team क्या है, Indian क्या ये सब. So Dhoni quotes that article ki Ravi bhai actually wanted to talk to you because you had written this about us. So now what do you think? What do you feel about India making it to the final? Something on those lines. And I remember that vividly thinking in my head, it's hard to imagine cricketers reading and ye sab. So like I like ye bhi padta ye sab kya. So that's something that comes to mind. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. For me, the way I'll always remember him is, of course, this. I just love Dhoni, the wicketkeeper, bro. I mean, even if you ask me 20, 30, 40 years later, I think MS Dhoni has given every youngster just a masterclass every time he kept wickets for India or Chennai. There's a reel that all the time does the rounds whenever it's Dhoni's birthday in terms of his lightning stumpings, just the cool and calm demeanor that he had in terms of that reflex action of grabbing the balls, taking the bails out, and giving men so much joy with just a stumping. And I think he made stumpings truly his and redefined it. Sure, it was always part of every wicketkeeper's manual, but MS Dhoni just made so many stumpings memorable and just made us feel very happy. So I think stumpings is the one that I would go for, not the obvious things that he's won in the game and the sixes he's hit, so on and so forth. Santosh Urupaz being cheeky, saying my favorite memory is him hitting 6 out of the stadium. Yes, just they are. Clear RCB fan there. Vikas Shukla saying, for me, when we were traveling in the same flight, like 2 rows behind, little flex. Oh, that's true. He was on our flight. How could I forget that? And we saw him at the airport. So to be fair, every time you see him, you can sense that that man is honestly aura filled. More things to, of course, take from Dhoni. Rahul Singh saying, Dhoni will play IPL till the day Kohli plays. Just he wants to be among casuals. Okay, bye. That's okay, fair enough. And also, happy birthday, IPL 2025 champion DDP, who I've reached out to. His agent said he's gone to Singapore. And the next thing I see on Instagram is Devdutt Padikkal in a Sentosa suite, some sick-ass hotel where he has the ocean as his room view. So I think Devdutt's on his travels. I think all the RCB boys can't do interviews apparently because I've reached out to all of them and they've just all been like, no, we can't speak right now. It's hush time. So that's a little update to all of you all in terms of when our next unwind could be. But there's good things coming on cricket.com for sure. Right, let's move on because we've dwelt on Dhoni too long, but fair enough, it was his birthday. Let's start with West Indies, Australia and the best of the rest because I generally felt for West Indies again because man, they could have, should have, would have chased that in the second innings of that second test. But again, that's for me to be absolutely ambitious in my head as a cricket fan. But Nix, what's your 1 minute summary of this game? If someone didn't watch it, what are the few things you'd tell them? West Indies, Australia at Grenada.
I wish West Indies are able to just bat longer periods of time and be. There is plenty of talent there, but sometimes the gulf can be too big for you to counter. Better teams have found it tougher to counter Stark, Hazelwood, and Cummins. It was never going to be easy. The good thing that West Indies did was they played on wickets that checked Australia. I think they troubled Usman, they troubled Constas. Green couldn't get a score apart from the last test. Smith got a good score, but eventually was out to Greaves. Travis Head things. So I think it is Australia being Australia, but I just hope somehow if West Indies can find a way to just be a bit more solid with the bat, I think it will be a lot more fun. 2 chases in the last 2 tests, they've been nowhere. So hopefully, maybe next time they'll bat first, maybe. and then do the job. But थोड़ा और batting लगेगा because Australia is Australia. Can't do much about it.
And I'll tell you what, it just bodes well for Australia because even though they lost the WTC final, Akshay, they've started their new campaign of the WTC in perfect possible way. I mean, 2 wins, pocketing all those points. Smith back from injury, back in form after scoring a little bit of runs. Your main takeaway from that test, I mean, not too much to dwell on, apart from the stadium, because I'll give you some info on the stadium after you mention your point. But what's your main takeaway from West Indies Australia second test?
Did not watch much of it, but jitna bhi dekha, Jaden Seals, he's just been doing really well across the series, and even in this test, the wickets column might not reflect enough of how well he's been bowling. Bahut maza aaya unko, especially with the new ball. The way he was bowling to Usman Khwaja and the likes in the second innings was very nice. Matlab, very impressed with him. And like Nikhil Bhai said, I don't think on the bowling front they have too many issues. If only the batters can also match up to their bowlers, then I think we might sort of see the second coming of a strong West Indian side.
Yeah, let's see how that happens. Also the catching, but also the day-night factor in that Kensington Oval test in the third one. That's going to be pulsating because we don't normally see that many pink ball tests, especially in the West Indies. So it's going to be some historic significance over there. And the other good thing is, yeah, it's a late night viewing and all of that stuff. And there's the typical West Indian stadium ambience, if you like to put it that way. The other point I was going to mention about the stadium, the Grenada one, India have never played at that venue. I was just checking all the history. Tests, ODIs, or T20s, we never played at that Grenada Stadium. It was a beautiful sort of bird's eye view because it's right next to the pitch, the beach, just like I think St. Kitts and Nevis as well. So honestly, good venue over there. Right, from West Indies, let's move from the Northern Hemisphere to the Southern Hemisphere because honest to God, Wian Mulder, what a test match he's having. Akshay, I'll start with you. Is he going to be the next Jack Callis? Who knows? But bro, second man to hit a triple ton for the Proteas after Hashim Amla scored 311 against England. To do it as a captain, he got 264 not out on the first day, which I think is the second best in Test history. Just so many records he's broken. But my question to you is, why the hell is he played the modesty card, the Mahatma Gandhi card, being selfless and declaring when he was 33 runs away from a man that I interviewed, Brian Lara, and his 400 record? Unbelievable.
First of all, I think the more politically correct leader would be Nelson Mandela, but he ke Gandhi bol diya to Gandhi say. But yeah, with Mulder, pata nahi yaar, it's just one of those things. You don't know how much of it is just them being very humble. Yaar, I don't want to sort of a list that consists of Brian Lara, then Matthew Hayden, Mahela Jayawardene. I'm talking about scores in excess of 370 and whatnot. So it could be potentially that if you want to really sort of give him the benefit of doubt. Baki, I don't know. Matlab, there's no answer. He can only he can answer this in the post-day presser ki bhai kya tha, what was going on in your head, because he was the skipper. Aisa bhi nahi ki there was someone else who declared the innings. You never know. We've seen this happen before as well. There have been a couple of instances where apparently, supposedly, certain players did declare when they were reaching certain milestones out of respect. So, wo ho sakta bhi pata nahi, what was going on in his head. Maybe he genuinely wanted to get Zimbabwe back on the field because they were already tired to try and get a few wickets. They have already bundled them out for 170. So, matlab, South Africa has done a good job of vindicating his decision that way so far. But all in all, still, man, fantastic knock for him to score so many runs. By the way, he was, if I'm not wrong, just the second player in the history of Test cricket to score 250 runs or more in a day's play. Now, after, of course, the great Don. And bhai, matlab mazak nahi. People might once again talk about the bowling attack ye sab. Zimbabwe Pakistan ke samne bhi khela hai bhai. So ऐसा नहीं है, मतलब न्यूजीलैंड के सामने फिर से खेलेगा. You still, I'm pretty sure you won't see something like this again. It's not easy to rack up so many runs. People just assume कि bowling attack अगर उतनी strong नहीं है तो कितने भी run बन सकते. They think it's क्या था वो, ये cricket 2007 चल रहा है कि भाई हम run बनाते जाएंगे और वो बनाते रहेंगे. It doesn't work that way. So just the sheer volume, 367 runs at that strike rate, यार मतलब मजाक है, एकदम मजाक है. Strike rate पे कौन खेलता है ऐसा? So good, very happy.
it was still not the fastest triple ton ever because Sehwag still has that record of boast of a thing against South Africa and Chennai. And it was still not the highest ever score Zimbabwe have conceded in a test match because Hayden got a 380 against them in 2003. So just made you think about stats even more. If you thought Edgbaston was a stats haven, this one as well has given us some numbers, which has definitely tickled me this afternoon. I even look at it being the highest ever score in a test match in Zimbabwean soil, even in terms of first class record. So many. I mean, the fact that it is a South African to do it pleases Nix as well, because he is, of course, a Proteas fan after Team India. Nix, how did you savor and soak up all this information? And for him to do it in his first test, it's almost video game PS5 level like.
Yeah, my captain in this game. Expected him to do well. Yeah, I think we just read, I just was reading the quote of Mulder that where he says, "Ke Brian Lara is keeping that record exactly the way it should be." So I said it last night as well. I didn't think he would go for it. I think he would get 300 and be like, "Okay, maybe." And it is okay. I think sometimes we just get too hyped up about certain things, but we fail to realize sometimes we are also humans and we all think differently, and that's what makes it special. Now, every time somebody thinks about Brian Lara, they will talk about Mulder like, he had a chance, but he didn't do it. But of course, I'll want to make this a point. It cannot be the yardstick. It should never be a yardstick because Mulder declared in respect of Lara. It should not mean that somebody else should declare for somebody. It is an individual choice, which Mulder did, and I respect that decision for him. And I'm very happy that he's able to bat at 3 and he's able to get 367 runs. But I also feel there will be one more triple century in this WTC cycle. So hopefully that happens, and then is when I will clip this out. Okay. 121 Avnish, see the triple 100 happen.
Okay, we'll of course hold Nikhil hostage if he doesn't get it right, but how many does he get wrong? So that's the question. Right, just to finish up on the rest of the stuff that we want to talk about in Best of the Rest is a little bit of Sri Lanka and Bangladesh, because Bangladesh, to be fair, picking up their first ever win in Colombo at the RPS. They went down in the first ODI, but they won the second one by 16 runs, and I think it was pretty good. Nix absolutely nodding in approval. Nix, what did you like about their 16-run win, and will they beat Sri Lanka in the final game in Pallekele, which starts tomorrow?
I mean, my favorite score, so it had to be special because Bangladesh batted first and Tawfiq Zeta scored a nice 51 of 69. The score may not feel that much, but it was a typical ODI, 248 being par for the course, and he got involved in a run out, which led to me having a proper meltdown. Ki bhai, kya kar raha hai? Why would you get run out? Tawfiq Zeta got run out because Tanzim Sakit did not feel कि इसके लिए sacrifice करना चाहिए. That is how it panned out. But 248 there for them, and then Tanvir Islam, he bowled really well even in the first game that they lost. But for then him to pick up a 5 for 39. So we've always been bowlers FC. Whenever people are able to defend score in ODIs, it just feels that much more fun. There is a lot of rain around, unfortunately, but hopefully there should be enough time for a thriller, because Bangladesh Sri Lanka is the rivalry that we should be looking out for.
And the rivalry was, I think, enhanced with Bangladesh leveling the series. So everything's going to go off in the final ODI. I won't ask Akshay about Sri Lanka, Bangladesh to save time and move on to MLC, which is, of course, concluded its league stage. We are the final 4. We always knew who the final 4 were. And if you guys are wondering who the final 4 are, let me just read it out to you. Washington Freedom, they'll play Texas Super Kings in the qualifier 1. SF Unicorns, which is San Francisco, they take on MI New York in the eliminator. And we, of course, saw the end of LA Knight Riders, which is always on the cards, and not to forget Seattle Orcas. So the caravan shifts to Dallas. Maxwell doing Maxwell things, some high-scoring games. That's what I've understood from highlights and scorecards. Akshay, can you tell us something that we don't know, or you're looking forward to, or you're predicting about the MLC 2025?
नहीं भाई, MLC लास्ट वीक कुछ नहीं देखा है. लास्ट वीक ऐसा वुमेन्स क्रिकेट ये सब इतने मैचेस सब हो रहे थे, was busily catching up with that. I would imagine Nikhil bhai would be a much better person to answer it.
Okay, next.
I'm just hoping what Santosh says happens. एक और I don't mind getting bored again for fitting 100. Please do it again. It was so good. You should do it again because that is the fun. They may well face MI New York. Who knows? And Pollard may again play well. But I'm looking forward to this final again. It is unfortunate that we can't see it live, but plenty to look out for in terms of San Francisco also, who looked for a good part ke bhai haan chalo theek hai, we have Finel, we have Bartlett, we have Arisaro. Not everybody has come to the party, but they've been able to find a way. So let's see. Can't see it live, but whoever wins, cheers. Hopefully TSK.
I'll tell you one thing for sure. The next Monday Night Live, we will be talking about the winner of the Major League Cricket, and we'll talk about all the highlights. So we'll give you all the things that you might have missed from a stats POV as well. So that's MLC and SL Bangladesh done. Just to close out the SL Bangladesh chat, some good numbers been thrown in by freaking awesome as always. Saying only India and Pakistan have 50-50 ODI record at Colombo. All the other teams struggle there. England, New Zealand have won only one ODI at Colombo. In fact, he goes on to say, yes, 292 is the highest ever total chase successfully in ODIs at Colombo. Anything over 250 is tough to chase. So let's see if they can go get that one. And Santosh saying, win the toss, win the game at Colombo. Whoever wins the toss, bats first, wins the third ODI. Saying Greg. So lots of you guys contributing in the best of the rest, which is what we want to see, apart from the main chat. All you guys love your cricket. So much so that I can, in fact, show you a graphic to tell you guys what you want to watch this week. Of course, lots of action everywhere. Different kinds of cricket. ODI cricket in Colombo, Test cricket in Bulawayo. There is England women's and India women's having a great T20 series. And not to forget, India-England as well. The third test starts on Thursday, like you can see there. Not to forget the day-night test of West Indies-Australia, which starts on Sunday, the 13th of July. Right, time to move on, because I'll tell you what, for starters, you guys are going to win something in the next 5 minutes, because it is at that time of the show where we move on to Akshay's quiz, and he has a very, very interesting question in this one. Akshay, when you forwarded it to graphic design on the WhatsApp group, the question, I was just like, surely people are not going to get this, but you can show them. But first up, as traditions on Howzzat, who won it last week and what was it?
Let's have the graphic out first. There we go. Very simple question. Who is or was, or call it how you want, the only player to have achieved what is labeled a cricket grand slam? So, bhai, matlab, interesting guesses, a lot of interesting guesses. In fact, because of how thinly or thickly veiled it was interesting to see how creative people got. Mentioned a lot of names mentioned: Virat, Graham Smith, there was MS Dhoni and whatnot. But the correct answer is the universe boss. It's Chris Gayle, who is the winner of the Cricket Grand Slam. And of course, this refers to players who've scored a T20I ton, an ODI double hundred, and a triple hundred, a test triple. And he currently is the only player to have done the three. I was in fact thinking about how this could potentially have been, me sort of predicting the future in some sense, because agar Gill ne wo triple hundred maar liya hota, he would have become only the second person in the history of cricket to have also been a part of this very elite list. Unfortunately, there was none of that happening there. Coming to this week's Howzzat, very simple question in the sense, not a lot of words, but a lot of numbers. You've got X, Y, and Z. You've got three players. I want you guys to identify who X, Y, and Z are. And you've got a bunch of numbers there. And I want you guys to tell me what these numbers are all about. Kafi sadharan se numbers, and I feel that could potentially be a hint. Let us see if that helps you or not this time around. And like always, please wait for the live stream to end. Do not key in your answers in the live chat. Enter your answers in the main comment section at the end of the live stream in order to be eligible. And that's that from this week's Howzzat.
Okay, Cricket Grand Slam is a made-up stat.
दिया है नाम ऐसा चेक करो भाई, Google को फिर गाली दो, फिर हम क्या बोले.
And look, to be fair, tennis season, so I like the wordplay there, the Grand Slam. And yeah, I mean, Shubman Gill could have got there. I was thinking Matthew Hayden, but then he didn't get a double hundred in ODIs, but he's got 100 in T20s and a triple done in Test.
Triple ton, I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he doesn't have a T20.
Oh, this is for internationals.
Yeah, just internationals.
Okay, fair. Yes, Chris Gayle being the universe boss, brilliant from him. And I got the last one right, Saint Nicole. Well done, absolutely well done. Whoever did get it right. So remember, you guys can stop and start the podcast, check out that question, answer with your friends, and let them also have their say in the comments below. Finally, before we do, of course, take your leave this Monday, July 7th, 2025, it's only fair that we pertain to your questions, which we've been getting tons of throughout this podcast, which I've missed, but we'll take right now in the 12th man segment. Right, plenty of questions. Lots were, of course, being asked when we were talking about England, India, and understandably so, because many people want to know our thoughts. Restal Singh had this one saying, if Kuldeep plays, do you guys think they're still going to have Washi as well, despite the heat? Isn't three spinners too many? Look, my assessment really quickly before I go to the boys, as I see it, Washington Sundar, he bowled, what, 20 overs in that test against England the last time out, and he batted all right. But what Nix keeps mentioning, usage, how you're going to use him, especially as an off spinner, you can create that rough a little bit more than the other spinner in the game. And I think Washi might just get the nod here because India won, but there could be a good reason to play him out and throw in another spinner and Kuldeep there. So Nix, where do you stand in this?
I think the tricky bit is if you play Sundar, you can play Sundar at 7. But if they see NKR as a number 6, then that's where the challenge lies in terms of same word usage. Where do they want to play the the number 6? And which is why I feel honestly sorry for Dhruv Jurel. Okay, if they wanted a batter at number 6, so Dhruv Jurel was doing that job for you any which ways when you were playing. So it feels sort of harsh that you've gone out of your way and you've played few more people. But if you want to put in that, go ahead. 3 may be too many, but yeah, we don't know. And after this game, I'm very sure they want that depth in both departments. So use well. Good luck.
Okay, Akshay, take this one from Ryan Ahmed. Should Siraj be rested for the next game in Lords, considering very less break between the games? Was the Edgbaston wicket similar to the subcontinent ones like Stokes mentioned?
About Siraj being rested, yeah, if there's one thing that Siraj has been praised for time and time again, it is his ability to, be able to bowl or clock him those overs, irrespective of how many he's already bowled. He is our workhorse, and he's done that with great aplomb across the last 5 years. Yeah, I don't remember too many cases of him breaking down due to fatigue or excessive overs thrown or something. If anything, it's people like us who've been like, "Bhai, usko bahut bowling karo, thoda kam kara." So I don't see any reason why he would be rested. And after having done so well, he himself would not want to be rested. He is in great rhythm. He would now want to just continue the good work. And at a venue like the Lords, he would also want to try and, potentially get his name up on the Lords Honours board. So yeah, I don't think he will be rested. There was the Edgbaston wicket similar to, I don't know, what did he mean by it? Like, I don't know. Kya matlab kya tha unka? Because it was a fairly flat wicket. We saw that in the first innings. We saw that in the second innings as well. Barring a few odd deliveries, they could have very easily played. Matlab, Jamie Smith, Harry Brooks showed कि भाई थोड़ा application दिखा देते तो आराम से यहाँ पे run बन सकते थे. So I honestly don't know, but I think it was a very random statement to make and just a very typical English statement कि not accepting or admitting to something rather than just talking about the opposition and then moving on.
Yeah, what do they say? It's almost like the baby throwing all the toys out of the pram, and Ben Stokes felt like that. Right at the top of the show, we probably got a new subscriber, and in the name of Shuchi, saying, would love to know your guys' thoughts about Prasidh, the test bowler. Stick with him for longer, or does Bumrah replace him straight away at Lords? I think the latter is obvious. I think the latter is the correct decision, even though there is a lot of things that Prasidh has been doing right behind the scenes that we might not be seeing. Of course, what we've seen in the first 2 tests is not that likable. What the wickets that he got in the first test was also very lucky if you look at even those dismissals. Next, where do you stand on Prasidh? Because one thing is you want to kind of be consistent in your selections and give longer ropes to people, but you also should have enough conviction. Has Prasidh given you that conviction?
Maybe I think he'll be my 4th pacer if ever I want to go down that route. So that is how I would put him. Yeah, he's looking okay to be the 4th pacer. I don't think he's there to be the top 3. Siraj has barely moved from 3 to 2. So let's give them some time, and it is fair. to give them time also. What I would like to do with Prasidh is hopefully keep him very fit and fresh, ensure where we want to use him, which formats more, and then give him games accordingly. So if you're saying now there is New Zealand that he never travel, there is Sri Lanka where he never travel, and they'll play a few games at home. Pick out which games and where you want him to play, and then you see what you want to do with him, the bowler. What is his skill? You have to work with him on the fly and then figure out, okay, yes. So these are the conditions where we want Prasidh. So this is where we'll give him games, or you give him A tools and whatnot, and then you see how he's growing. Because I just feel sometimes we pick people, we play them for a while, and then we forget them. Like how it's happened with Mukesh. He's played everything in one or a few tours, and now he's nowhere. So I just don't want that to happen. So you pick Prasidh, stick with him, but work with him, and figure out what is his best role. At this point in time, you have Bumrah, Siraj, and Akash Deep. Back them, and then use Prasidh accordingly whenever you want him to.
Yeah, I think it's a good point he's mentioned about Mukesh there, because you don't want someone like Prasidh, no matter the form he's going through right now, to just disappear in the wilderness, and we hope that doesn't happen. I'll ask Akshay a different question, but similar on the bowling lines, which comes from Abhishek Kumar at the top of the show again. Appreciate Abhishek for this question. Who do you think is going to take the new ball with just Bumrah in the next match? Akshay, my hunch is Akash Deep, but it could all well be Siraj.
Has to be Akash Deep. मतलब ये तो अभी क्वेश्चन भी नहीं, सवाल भी नहीं पैदा होता. Like अगर इसके बाद भी अगर सिराज न्यू बॉल डालता है तो भाई मतलब I don't know what to say.
Okay, one more to Akshay, and then we'll give others as well. Why so much gap between the women's T20 internationals? Because look, all the women's cricket talk has been happening in the podcast, and there's props to Akshay and Nia for them digging that out. Go check out the latest episode, because it tells you about what's been happening in the T20 series. And like Santosh has mentioned here, it's a longish series. Are they scheduling it according to the men's?
This one, I'm assuming it had to do a bit with the men's test match, because the first two T20s were played when the men's team wasn't playing. The third T20I was played on day one of the test match, if I'm not wrong. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. Correct. So I'm assuming they just wanted to avoid that, because the next T20I is now happening on Wednesday, the 9th of July. So they just wanted to avoid any sort of clash with the men's series. Although that also does not make a lot of sense, because वो दिन में खेल रहे हैं, ये रात में खेल रहे हैं. So it's also because यार तीन T20 खेल चुके थे लगातार 5. You can't have 5 T20s being played over a span of 10 days. Just to make it a 2-week series so that there's decent enough break. That's where halfway. This is technically the halfway mark. So just that's probably the only reason for it.
Okay. AJ Ragnarok randomly saying Mulder was such a forgettable cricketer. He blew an opportunity to remember for a long time.
He will be remembered for this, right? I'm 100% sure the next time someone talks about Dan Lara's 400, people will talk about this. Ki uske paas mauka tha, usne choda. So I don't know AJ Ragnarok if he will be forgotten so easily. And forgettable cricketer, there's almost even more, not almost, there's definitely more worse than calling him something else. Why forgettable to mat bola, yaar, bichara.
367. Bye. I'll give him a hat trick just for you, AJ. Hopefully he takes.
No, he'll still be in the top 5. I mean, for a long time in terms of triple set centurions, because I look at Lara, Hayden, Lara, Jayawardene, and then Mulder. And you look at Mulder's IPL record. He's played 1 game this year, 1 game, and I think that was at Vizag, Delhi, SRH for SRH. Look, but that is that. Yash saying, since today's the birthday of the great man, MS Dhoni, would love to know some lesser-known stories about him, or some unique qualities that you guys felt that you didn't see with anyone else. We discussed that already, but here's one off-field. I remember it because one of my friends, she studied in Nottingham, and this was way back, pretty much my seniors from school, 2007. This is MS Dhoni single before Sakshi, remember? And they just finished playing an ODI series there, and they'd met in the hotel, the lobby of the hotel, and they exchanged numbers and everything like that. And MS apparently was really sweet enough, because he was apparently doing hookah with all these boys in his room, and he got a text saying, hey, listen, do you want to step out for coffee and whatever? She didn't like food in the restaurant, and he's gone to the closest McDonald's, got her McDonald's, which is impressive. So MS Dhoni, the true selfless man. There. That's something that people don't know on the internet, but I've just given you a little nugget if you enjoyed that. Akshay's having a right laugh, but yeah, MS, man. I mean, back then, cricketers used to do anything to just be really nice to fans, especially the ones opposite gender. Anyway, been following you guys since forever, so not new. Keep up the good corner, boys. Thank you for that. And Rahul Mahapatra saying, I have one question. If Lord's pitch is an absolute green one, then apart from Bumrah, Siraj, and Akash Deep, then who will be a fourth pacer? Arshdeep or Siraj? Reports coming that Lord's will be a green one. Nix, it'll definitely be Arshdeep if there's a fourth pacer.
Yeah, Abhi, I would back Prasidh. By Lord's short ball, good memories for me from 2014. I would hope that is what is continued. Arshdeep, I don't mind, but then the catch is you want to give them the new ball again, right? You already have a problem with the new ball. Why do you want to add another player there and say, "Kya abhi aur confusion create karo?" So maybe Prasidh and Arshdeep ko time milega. There is few more games coming.
Okay, finally, we'll take the comment and we'll end proceedings from Abbas Kunde saying, my changes are this. In comes Bumrah, Lord Thakur, out goes Prasidh and NKR, Sundar and Jadeja have given me confidence with the bats. If play NKR and Jadeja, Sundar, one of them will be wasted with the bat. Curran and Stokes scoring hundreds at Lords. Fantastic predictions there. Predictions then, are India going to make it 2-1 at Lords? They've had a great history at Lords, winning there 2014, 2020, of course. Will it make it third time in 2025? Next, again, similar to what I asked you last MNL, your man of the match at Lords and your winner.
I hope it is not a man of the player of the match in a losing cause. So that is one prediction out. Could be that. And if that is Joe Root, you know the answer then. If Joe Root gets that in a losing cause, but difficult here. I think it's. I just hope it is not Archer. That will be painful. As an Indian fan, you would feel like by Archer, direct 5-6 le liya, so that could be troublesome. So yeah, I'll give Joe Root the player of the match, and if India can win, so nothing like it.
If Archer wins man of the match after just bowling 18 overs in 4 years in first-class cricket, I'll be baffled. But that'll be some historic feat if he does it. Obviously, knocked Steve Smith out cold there, so he loves the surface of Lords. I will go next and say my man of the match will be Jasprit Bumrah. I think it's high time that he puts his name on the honours board at Lords. And it's just inevitable that he's going to venue and conquering it. He did it in Perth. He did it, of course, earlier on the series in Headingley. And I think Lords will have a say. India will win. It won't be such a thumping win, but India will win by 80, 90 runs is my guess for this series. And they will, I think, for the first time, chase this series. They will chase and I think win. But if Ben Stokes continues his toss luck, fair enough. I don't think England are going to win at Lords. Akshay, that's my two hot takes. Bumrah man of the match and India to win at Lords. What about you?
I'll go for an ekdam aisa Adrangi choice. I'm going Karun Iyer. I want him to become the third Kannadiga on the Lords Honours Board. And maza aega wo. And about the win situation, if India go ahead with the same structure, that is, if Bumrah is the only change, then I think England will start favourite. So I'll give them the win there. Should India understand कि भाई वो structure के साथ थोड़ा मुश्किल होएगा इनको, and they sort of also drop one of the all-rounders and come up with a more test-suited 11, then I will give India a chance. Nahi to if Bumrah is the only change, England start favourites. If they make two changes, that is one of the all-rounders also goes out, then I'll have India as my winners.
Okay, impressive. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. Keep them chatty, keep them coming. We'll do some cool content going forward to the Lord's Tests as well, so keep an eye out of that. And Avnish, Tum, Rene Dobai, what do you say? Absolutely opposite happens. Apex, by the way, also asked us to have a word on Diego Jota, and look, heartfelt condolences. I know many people are watching cricket.com, but I'm talking about a footballer being passed away. It has just created shockwaves in the sporting world, and it's an absolute sad day. We'll all remember it, and God bless him and his young family. I would say that for sure. Finally, would you open with Bumrah and Akash, Arshdeep and Bumrah? I mean, freaking awesome. You're speculating in your previous comment here, which again we can deep dive into, but I generally feel if Akash Deep starts and Arshdeep starts, they might still persist with Akash Deep with the new ball, purely on evidence, and then get in Arshdeep and drip feed him into the game. Right, we can talk, as you guys can already tell. but we'll end proceedings in this Monday Night Live. 87 is an unlucky number for Australia, but more importantly, will be a lucky number for India come 3 days' time from now. Let's see how it unfolds in Lords. We'll be there to cover it. Until the next time, so goodbye from all of us. Short clips coming through and Bear Tuck tomorrow. Cricket.com is your destination. Cheers.